Well, now we have some practical tips on how to advance your organization's ability to modernize the right layers, first to accelerate innovation across the enterprise. So please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker from Loblaw's Senior Vice President, Engineering and Data Science, Charu Pajuri.
Thank you for having me. It's very nostalgic as well. I was actually here 13 years ago when they did the first Big Data Analytics Summit. It was a very small room somewhere in downtown, and I think it was only 50 of us at the time. So it's very good to see, it has actually gotten very, very big, and it's now today. Congrats to the organizers. Good morning. My name is Charu Pajuri. I'm SVP of AI and Engineering at Loblaw companies, primarily working on all things digital, making sure that you all are getting your groceries whenever you order them online. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how we are thinking about AI and how are we transforming Loblaws to become a more AI native retailer. I do have a question before we start. How many people here from the industry? So you could be in industry, in finance, in retail, whatever, but so that I tailor my talk accordingly. Not a lot. So then are most of the people from academia? Industry. Okay. Cool. Before we kind of start, I think I just want to take all of us back. There's just so much buzz about AI. But let's think about some of the more interesting technologies that came before AI and kind of the pattern that they all followed. If you think about it, the big technologies that came before AI, they all followed the same type of pattern, right? So raw tech arrives. So think about steam engine, think about electricity, think about transistors, think about internet. They all came in, and then somebody invented them, and then the cost starts to decrease dramatically for that technology, right? So, I mean, same thing happened with AI as well. First it came, it was hard to access, then ChatGPT happened about 3 years ago, and we all know what happened since then. The adoption has increased. And then from an industrial perspective, what happens is, once the cost starts to decrease, basically the adoption starts to increase. And then the first thing that people start to do is basically use that technology, bolt it on to retrofit their existing workflow, right? So I mean, think about with AI, the first thing that we all started using it for was writing our emails and performance reviews and things like that, right? That's basically bolting on whatever work we are doing today and just doing it with a better technology, which basically gives improvement, but those improvements are very marginal, right? So we are not going to get 2x, 5x, 10x improvement in our productivity. We'll probably get 10, 20, 30%. Many people also call it finding productivity to get more coffee breaks. That's the bolt-on stage. And kind of this is where we all are living right now. And then at some point what happens is people start to think about how are we really going to change completely how we work, right? And people who figure it out faster are actually the winners in the market. And that's where the compounding advantage starts to show up. And this is the trend that we are seeing in 2026. A lot of work that we saw until 2025 was more about the models. But in 2026, late 25, early 26, what we have started seeing is people have started talking about how do you actually become more and more AI native, right? Let me tell you another story very quickly. So electricity arrived somewhere in 1870s, right? And then there was a light bulb. But light bulb was like a consumer use case. There was no real industrial use case for electricity for first 30 years. And that seems like a lot. Obviously, for AI, that's almost never going to happen. But for electricity, it was first 30 years. And you know why? Because we were doing bolt-ons. So what happened was the first big use case for electricity was there were these steam engines which were running the industries, right? And so the way the industry was configured was basically there would be like this massive steam engine room, and then there will be a shaft that will run across the wall, like across the ceiling, and that will power different machines on the floor, right? So when electricity came, they took a very long time, and they replaced that steam engine with a motor, right? So it was a lot more powerful, it could run faster, but nothing else changed. The shaft still remained in the ceiling, the workflow still remained the same, and hence they did not see any productivity improvements until they basically rip apart the whole thing and redesign that entire workflow, right? So they actually went from what you see on the right side, from having a large engine room to basically building smaller motors and put the motor directly on the machine, right? And this is kind of a workflow change that really helped people think through get higher productivity from the same technology that existed. The cost of that technology had already collapsed, and it was becoming commoditized. And this was the inflection point. It's too bad that it took 30 years for them to think about it. I hope we can learn from this. We are learning from this, and today I want to just talk about what that learning looked like and how we are changing how we work at Loblaws. So we are truly at an inflection point. We've been in this journey at Loblaws for about 2.5 years, which really feels like a very long time because of the pace of change that AI is seeing, right? So, I mean, we started very early days by just wrapping on top of, I think it was GPT 3.1 at the time, to give a tool to our colleagues so that they can do better copy, better marketing offers, better emails, better policy writing, and things like that. And from there, we started building lots of different point solutions for our colleagues. Simplest one that I don't know if I've talked to some of you at other events, but my favorite one is we have thousands of trucks that come into our warehouses every day, and scheduling them is a big pain. We do have a SaaS solution which basically manages the scheduling, but any SaaS workflow always has exception flows, right? And to manage those exception flows, everyone manages large teams to basically manage the exception. And the way it is managed is through email, right? So it's a very common pattern which you will find across the board. System works, and then wherever system doesn't work, we introduce a person, and then that person basically becomes the API to that SaaS system, right? So we said, oh, this is actually a perfect use case. We should replace it and with AI, and we did, and we basically built an agent. This is 2.5 years ago when agents were not called agents, and that agent could read a mailbox and do the scheduling, and the process was completely automated. But more importantly, the SLAs for how long it used to take to reply dropped, and hence the productivity for our logistics partners also improved, and warehouses improved, right? So we were going through that. We built lots of such point use cases, and then at some point, I think about a year ago, we said, stop. We cannot keep doing this. We need to really think about how should we structure our work, right? And we need to categorize in which categories or what kind of areas are we going to play in. And we basically came up with, and how are we going to transform? So we came up with these 3 things. So the first one is, how do we focus our energy on optimizing everyday decisions that we make? So we are a fairly large enterprise, 2,500 plus stores, largest employer in Canada. So obviously, lots of micro decisions are made every day, right? So think about from an inventory decision to should I do this maintenance decision, should I write this line of code decision, should I build this product decision, and so on and so on and so on, right? So we said, how are we going to optimize everyday decisions for our colleagues? And we are going to do it in a way that we can basically unlock the data which is sitting in multiple silos. Obviously, it's a large enterprise over, last, I want to say like 25, 30 years, we have built a lot of technology. A lot of that is legacy. A lot of that has been modernized, but it's still disconnected because it was built using the best-in-class technology at the time for that particular use case, right? But now we are at a point where we can basically start unlocking all of that because AI doesn't really need the kind of integrations that legacy systems needed, right? So I'm going to talk about a few use cases of how we are doing that, how we are thinking about that. The second and most important one was, now we are doing this for ourselves, customer behavior is also changing, right? So how do we go and change that behavior and start building the products for our customers so that, we are moving in the direction of how customers' shopping behavior is changing. And I'm going to talk about a few use cases of that as well. And then finally, in last 18 months or so, answer engine as a channel has really emerged, right? So, I mean, a lot of our shopping, at least the planning for doing the shopping, is not happening on Google anymore. It's all happening on ChatGPT or on Claude or Gemini, whichever model or answer engine you prefer to use. So then we had to make sure that we are not behind the market on that, and we are basically going and meeting our customers wherever they are. And by doing that, we learned a lot, from how answer engines operate, but then how we can actually leverage for making customers' life easier. So we're going to talk about that as well. But let's start talking about what we did for our colleagues and how we are thinking about optimizing everyday decisions. This is my favorite product, actually. It's called Robin. What do? We run retail stores. What's the most important thing in a retail store? A retail store, the storefront, right? And who are the most important people in a retail company? People who run the store. So what are we doing for them? Nothing. We were building dashboards and reports, and we were basically coaching them on how to use different types of dashboards. They typically grew in their career. They learned a lot from their seniors, anecdotally, through their experience, etc. And everyone basically just was an experienced operator, and they gained that experience through years working in a storefront or in a retail environment, right? But we started growing a lot of stores, so then how do you actually find that many great operators? And not every operator is going to be at same level. So how do we use this phenomenal technology in front of us to make sure that all the operators actually have a personal coach which can help them operate at the highest level possible, mimicking exactly what some of the very, very experienced operators who've been doing this for 30 years would operate at, right? So that's when we built this product. This is about 18 months old. It's live in about 1,000+ stores now. It generates millions of interactions every week, and we call it Robin. Why Robin? Because we believe that, like I said, superheroes in any retail environment are the people in the front line who are actually running the store, serving the customer, and what do they need? They need a sidekick, which is Robin. But then very quickly, Robin actually evolved into a store operating system, right? And then the way this works is you see it on the right. Basically, it works on their phone or on their iPads, and they can see some high-level metrics, but then very quickly it starts to get into insights, right? So every store manager, there are so many things which are happening on an average. There are 200 to 300 people who are working in a store. There are multiple departments. So it's very hard for them to figure out exactly what's happening where. And this is where experience comes in, so they know exactly what do I need to look for. Where is the wastage? Where is the theft? where is the recipe wrong, where is the customer service wrong, which of my colleagues actually need training, and things like that. So Robin basically looks at all the data and then tell them, these are the top 5 things that you need to do today. And if you do these 5 things only, you will be better than most of your peers. And that is incredibly powerful because, earlier, good operators would actually start their day really, really early, go through tons of reports to build out their plan of how they are going to do it, right? Now, they're starting their day early, they're going through Robin, and they are already sending out notes to their team to say, how are we going to fix these problems? And when they walk in, now they are actually on the floor, and they are working with the customers. They are making sure that the stores are set up in a very nice way, right? And that's really the difference that Robin made in their life. And then we started adding lots of different features. It became agentic because it has workflow integrations. People used to do store walks, which is like a floor walk to make sure that everything is in great shape on the floor. And they would take notes or they will take pictures. Now everyone just uses Robin. Robin understands images, it understands videos, it understands text, it has a voice mode. You can take all the notes, and then you can basically just send it out to your team, and then action items gets identified from it automatically, and it gets dispersed to your assistant managers or your department heads. And then when you go into a staff meeting, basically those actions kind of get rounded up, so you can talk about those. So ones which are resolved already, they are removed from the list, and the ones which are not resolved can be discussed. So much more productivity because people are really focused on what matters. And we said, this is working. So and this is almost an operating system for the stores. So now how do we replicate it in other parts of the organization? We literally took the same design principles, same thinking, and we started applying it to other big parts of the enterprise. What's the next most important part of the enterprise? Merchandising, because they are the ones who are making sure that we are bringing in the best products at the best pricing, we are running the best promotions for our customers, we're making sure that in such a diverse network like we have, the assortment that we put out in the stores is really, really relevant for our customers, right? So it's, again, same problem, lots of data, lots of siloed systems. You have to bring all of these insights together to do your job. So we basically applied the same Robin principle, brought all of those systems together, and we built MerchOS. You can go and do your product corrections, product onboarding, promotion onboarding, and things like that using this system. And again, it runs like a list of things that you need to do, so everyone becomes a lot more efficient. What I love about this and what we are building now, we haven't released it yet, is I can literally, as a merchant, I can go and say, this type of category or this type of food is actually not working in this part of the country. And then I can literally go and do a bunch of simulations, right? And say, okay, if I were to do this, or if I were to, run this type of marketing, change the packaging, change the pricing, what would be the impact? And then it basically tells you, how the demand curves are going to change or how the pricing curves are going to change. And I think it's incredibly powerful because this is how we will start moving from the LLMs that we are using today to actually start training our own world models, right? And there are really no world models available for retail today. And so this could actually lead us to building our own world model. And that really, really excites me. Another important use case that we have is transportation and supply chain. And in supply chain, we are the largest fleet in the country. We really are one of the best run supply chains in pretty much North America for grocery. And we have this very large team who does a couple of things. So one is fulfillment and replenishment. So lots of people who are basically making sure that the items that you like to buy are actually reaching the shelf on time, right? So they are talking to the vendors, they are talking to the stores, they're talking to merchants and making sure that the things actually get on time. But vendors slip from time to time, rightfully so. People have manufacturing issues, people have logistics issues, supply chains get disrupted all the time. But that should not impact our end customers, right? And that's the problem that we are trying to solve. So one very important metric that we track from an operational perspective is called on-shelf availability, which basically means exactly what it sounds like. How many times an item was actually available on shelf, because only if it is available on shelf, we will be able to buy it, right? So, for us to sell it, it has to be on shelf. And supply chain really tracks that. This is their job, to make sure that items actually get on the shelf. So basically, we go against multiple sources and reach out to vendors, reach out to suppliers, and make sure that the items keep coming back and to the warehouse on time, and then we can ship them on time. We also do route planning. We do order batching and things like that through this OS. Very, very similar concept, but if you think about it, we built one for store, one for merchandising, one for transportation, and at some point, we're building one for procurement and so on. At some point, it'll be very easy for us to basically just build one master agent on top and then connect all of these. And that's when we become a fully agentic enterprise, right? And all the things, all the data silos, all the system silos that ever existed, they stop existing because we have this master agent which understands what are the enterprise goals, what are the customer goals, and how can we push those down to get the most optimum decision done, right? And that will be the true unlock for our productivity. We are probably 12 to 18 months away from that, but I think these things are really important foundations in building that. And then we are doing a bunch of stuff for our colleagues. My favorite one, because it's my team, is engineering productivity. So almost 50% of our code is actually now AI generated, and then in a couple of months, I think we'll get to about 75, 80%. And we are it was done as a bolt-on, and that's why I don't like it, because basically we were just using cursor, and then we built a couple of MCPs to do that, but that's not the way to do it. So we are killing that, and we are rebuilding something called Nexus, which will actually allow us it's our own engineering harness, which will allow us to rewire how we think about software delivery. And we are in the areas where it's already implemented, we are already seeing 5 to 7x productivity in developers, right? So if it used to take them 3-4 weeks to build out a feature, it's now taking them less than a day to actually get it out in production. All right, let's talk about consumers. All of our behavior has changed, right? I mean, significantly in last 2 years, but more so in last year or so. There is no news channel today that is not talking about AI and how important it is. And it shows in the numbers. 72% of Canadians are actually using AI every day. Most of them are under 30 years old, but 60 plus are also using it a lot. 58% people are actually using it to plan their shop, which means that the behavior has changed. People are moving away from Google search, and that's why Google has AI mode now, by the way, to actually ChatGPT, Claude, and other places, which is an incredible signal. I don't think the behavior has changed so rapidly in a very long time, in a very short time. So, even when internet happened, the behavior did not change so significantly. It's not like people just started searching everything on the internet. They were still going to the store to browse. But this, moving from site search or the search box to an agent, I think this happened very, very rapidly. And then 25 million people, actually meal planning is probably one of the top 20 use cases for ChatGPT. 25 million recipes searched every day. That's a lot. Like, who is searching all these recipes and planning all these recipes? And it's very encouraging because this is really our business, making sure that when people look for that recipe, we can provide all the ingredients and high-quality ingredients so that people can really, really cherish their food. So agentic commerce is evolving very rapidly, and we are basically building things to kind of address that market. So we are the first Canadian retailer to launch the ChatGPT app. So if you can literally go on your ChatGPT, you can say, at PC Express, help me plan a taco night. It'll ask you for the nearest store. So it could be a no-frill store, it could be a Fortino, it could be a Loblaw, one of our 17 banners, depending on where you are. And it will give you the recipe. It will find the right products from that store, which is in stock. It will help you choose if you want to pick up, if you want to do a delivery. It'll add everything to your cart. You go into your cart, you apply all the promotions, all the PC Optimum offers, all the PC Optimum points that I hope all of you are collecting, and you can do a checkout, and the groceries show up. And it can handle very complex queries. So I'm South Asian. I search for, I want to do a taco night, but I want to make it more desi. And it does that. It is actually very good at doing fusion food, innovating recipes and things like that. And you can basically, it's a very interactive experience. So I'll really encourage you to try it. I don't think I will have sufficient time for the video. But actually, let's look at it. It's very cool. What should I cook for dinner? 2 adults, 2 kids. Kids are picky. It does all of that. You pick up your store, you select your store, pick up the items. You only pick the items which you want, and the ones that you don't want, you can skip, and then there you go. And it also looks at, it is not trying to it has so many nuances. It is not trying to maximize your cart value. It is trying to maximize the value that you are getting out of that cart, right? So if you are doing a recipe, it is not going to, and that recipe needs tomatoes, it is not going to give you a recommendation to buy 1 kg tomatoes. It'll basically give you only the number that you need. So we have done all those smaller optimizations so that people actually use it, and we are seeing that people are actually using it quite a bit. We'll also be the first Canadian retailer to launch with Google. It's coming in about a month, where on Google Gemini, you'll just be able to go and buy your favorite health and beauty products from Shoppers Drug Mart. All right, but this is something that I'm really excited about because since the customer behavior is changing, we said earlier customers would go into a search box and they will ask for something, but now that has completely changed. People are not asking for a particular product. People are starting with an idea or a thought, right? And that's why we changed our search to go from a keyword-based search, which was very good, to an agentic search where you can literally just go and say, tell me a few healthy snacks for my 3-year-old, right? And I have to say, he's picky. And it basically knows that, what is a healthy snack? So low sugar, high fiber, organic, et cetera, and then it builds out all those filters so that you don't have to do any of that, and it just goes and picks the right products, personalize it based on if you're looking for value versus brand versus organic, inorganic, if you have nutritional allergies, or if you are more focused on nutritional information, et cetera. It does all of that on its own. You can see, and this is what we're doing next, where you will be able, we will be launching our first-party chat, where you can literally just go and build out the whole thing, just like you do it on ChatGPT, and you can build out the entire cart. You'll be able to see full value of it, and so on. So those are some of the big experiences that we are building, and then maybe I'll just quickly close it now with 3 takeaways that have sort of helped us. So one thing to notice is, in all of these examples that I showed you, we were not bolting on. We were really trying to rethink from ground up on where the customer behavior is changing, how the colleague behavior is changing, and what would truly bring that productivity jump for all of our users. Doesn't matter if it is enterprise users or consumers. And the very first thing that I would, if you could take away three things, first thing would be forget about the models. All the models are awesome. Don't chase a model, don't chase a benchmark, because models are improving at a rate which is way faster than you can actually consume them, right? So worry about the workflow, worry about the harness, worry about the peripherals that you're going to build, because the models can be plugged in, but the workflows are, I don't want to say they are a one-way door, but they are rigid, and you have to make sure that you really think through them and build it in a way that will allow you to keep the system flexible and truly capture the value from that productivity. Second thing is, don't try to automate everything, or don't try to make everything fully agentic. In our journey also, you would have seen that we have kept human in the loop for most part, right? So machine does most of the work, human reviews it, and then it goes to production. Meaning, a store operator gets all the insights, they get all the reports, it gets interpreted for them, and then they say if this is actually good or bad, and then they move it forward. A developer gets up to a merge request, and then they review it, and then the machine goes and pushes it. So human in the loop is important. Don't skip that, because I think there will be a time when you will be able to skip it, but I think it'll help build the confidence in the teams, in the people who actually have to use that. And then finally, technology is only 50% of this. Other 50% is the change management and people. So I think you have to really educate people. You have to build things which are important for them, and only then this amazing technology that you are building, the amazing workflows that you will build, will actually bear the fruit, and people will adopt. So that's with those three things. So you make sure that you don't chase the model, chase the workflow, keep human in the loop, and take care of your people. Make sure that they are the ones who understand why you are doing it, and only then you will see the adoption. I would leave you with those three thoughts. Thank you so much. I don't know if we are doing questions. No. Okay. Awesome. I'll be around. If you have any questions, find me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charu. That was amazing.